A good night of Shabbos. We're up to Tzadik Gimel Amid Aleph, the Mishnah. The Mishnah is discussing three women whose husband dies, and they have their Kesuvos were all written on the same day. So one does not go ahead and take before the other. If there had been an order, a pecking order, then this whole doesn't apply. The whole Mishnah doesn't apply. What we're trying to do is divvy up. When a woman has, of these three women, one's 100, one's 200, one's 300, how do we go ahead and figure out who gets what? Okay, so the Mishnah is going to say the following. I have a nice chart over here. The Mishnah is going to say that if they only have 100, then they're going to divide it equally. So the one who gets 100 gets 33 and a third, the one has 233 and a third, and the one who gets 333 and a third. That's now, what happens if you have 200? So 200, again, the one who has 100 is entitled to a shibud of 100. The other one is shibud 200, 300. Now you only have 200, so the balas mana gets 50. Now, this is a big question, because if you're dividing up three ways, she should never get more than 33 and a third. Why is she getting 50? And we'll discuss that in a second. The balas 200 gets 75, and the balas 375. The Mishnah describes this as 3 golden dinarim. A golden dinar is 25 silver dinarim. 3 times 25 is 75. So we're dividing up 50, and 150 is 200. That's according to, that's the Mishnah. And this is the third din is, if you have 300, how are you dividing up? This one gets 50. This one gets 100, and this one gets 150. We're going to have 2 ways in the Gemara to explain this. The Gemara has a problem. The problem is, why does this one get 50? She should only get 33 and a third. So the Gemara is going to answer that the one who said 200, she said, I don't have anything to do with your 100. So in this scenario, when there's, in other words, she's removing herself. So you're dividing up 100 between 2 people, between the 300 and the 100, because the 200 removed herself. So therefore, if you divide up 100 by 2, she gets 50. That's the Gemara is going to say on Ukimta. Okay. Now, how do we get these numbers? How do they work out? And there's 2 possible ways. One is according to Shmuel, right, who just said what we just said, that it's going to be on Ukimta, where she said, Dinu Devara mainly been I don't have anything to do with your mana. The other way is with Rabbi Yaakov Menahar Pocket, who's going to go ahead and give a very interesting way to explain this Gemara. So this is basically what we're doing over here, 50, 75, 75. This is the one that's going to be discussed at great length. We have this in mind. I'm going to keep it open, so make it things easier. Says the Mishnah, someone who's married to 3 women, Umesi dies, Subasa Shalzu Mana, Shalzu Masayim, Shalzu Shalish Meyas, 3 women, 3 different prices. All he has is a mana. This is the scenario. And Cholkim B'Shava, they're going to go ahead and divide it equally, 33 and a third to each one of them. Hayusham Masayim, if there's 200, how are you going to divide it up? Mana, so therefore, Shal Mana Noitlis Chamishim, Shal Masayim Noitlis Shalish Meyos, Chamishim Shal Masayim Shal Shalish Meyos, the 200 and the 300, what do they take? Shalish Shal Zav, each one takes 3 Dinrei Zav, which is 75 Dinrei Kesef. Hayusham Shalish Meyos, the last scenario, if you have 300, Shalmana Noitlis Chamishim, V'Shal Masayim Mana, V'Shal Shalish Meyos takes Shisha Shal Zav, 6 times 25, or 150. V'chein, the Huadin, Gimel She'etilu L'Kis, 3 people who went ahead and they came into a deal together, Pischu Oy Hasiru, whether it goes up or down in price, that's the way to divide it based upon this same type of protocol. Says the Gemara, Shalmana Natelas Chamishim, Fred Gemara, Tilsa Have. Why does she get 50? She should only get 33 and a third. Again, if you're dividing 3 ways, she shouldn't get more than 33 and a third. Who this place? Shmuel, answer Shmuel, because Sebes Balas Masayim Lebalas Mana, the one who has 200 rights to the one that has 100. I'm removing myself from that mana. What you're entitled to that mana, I'm removing myself. So a mana is 100. So 100 divided between the balas mana and the balas 300, we give a 50 instead of 33 and a third. Yihachi Fred the Gemara, Ema Seifa, V'Shal Masayim, V'Shal Shalish Meyos, Shalosh Shalosh Shel Zahav. Why over here? Why does she go ahead and get 75? Why did the table let the one is 300? Since the 200s are moving herself, the assumption is she's moving herself vis-a-vis the 300 as well. So therefore, she should say, Hamalei says that the 3 should say to the 2, Hasalka Nafshach Mina, right? You remove yourself what from the 100. So why do you get 75? You should only get 50. Says Mishum Damalei says to her, Midinu Dvarim Hu the Saliki Nafshay. I wasn't Michael the 50. I just said I don't have anything to do with the 50 vis-a-vis you, but I wasn't Michael it. So vis-a-vis you, I'm not Michael, and therefore you're going to get 75. Hayisham Shalish Meyos, the third scenario, 50, 100, 150. Shalmasayim Mana, right? Now you're telling me that she removed herself from there, right? So why does she get a Mana? Shiv Mechamisha Hu the Islay. She should only get what? She only gets 75. Since she has no shaykhs to this last 100. The last 100 over here, she has no shaykhs to. She has shaykhs to 100. She has shaykhs to 200. She has shaykhs to 300. There's 300 over here. The last 300 she has no shaykhs to. So why is she getting 100? She should get 75. Says the Gemara, Amashmuel, because Sebes Balas Sholish Meos, Lebalas Masayim, Lebalas Amana, Dinu Dvarim Ainli Yamachim B'Mana. So the 300 is saying to the 200 and the 100, I don't have what to do with you. The 300 is saying to the Shalish Balas Meos says, I don't have anything to do with it with the mana. So therefore, you're going to get 50. You're going to get 50% more, and therefore you can go from 75 to 100. Now, Rabbi Yaakov in our pocket, he's going to set it in a different way. He's going to say it's speaking about the numbers. So what's he going to say? That's not on this chart. So let's get rid of the chart for a second. He says it's speaking the following scenario. You went ahead and you had someone, the tfisa was first 75 and then 125. So let's go through this. The Balas Mona has shaykhs to 100 and the other 200, 300. So let's say they were typhus 75. Each one has shaykhs to that 75. So you're going to divide it 3 ways. Good. So that was the first tfisa. That he grabbed 100. You went ahead and you divided up 3 ways. Each one got 25. 75 divided 3, 25. Now, a second tfisa was 125. Now, 125, right? She only had shaykhs to, again, so we're going to divide it up 3 ways, but 25, 25, 25. Good. So that's takes care of 75. So this one now, each one has 50, 50, 50, 50. Now you have a remainder from 125. If you took out 75, you have a remainder of 50. That 50 now is going to be divvied up between the last 2. So therefore, they who had 50 now have 75. 50 divided is 25. So the first one gets 50, 75, 25 from the first tfisa, 25 from the second tfisa. The second one gets the same thing. The third one gets the same thing. And now in the second tfisa, right, each one has 50. But now, since you went and had 125 and you divvied up 75, 125 minus 75 gives you another 50. 50 divided between the last 2 would give you what? Would give you 25 and 25. Add it to 50. So it's 50, 75, 75. 50, 75, 75. Now, how do we explain the last tfisa? How do we explain over here? So that's what he explained over here. 50, 75, 75. Now, how do you explain this one? Rabbi Yaakov in our pocket says there was, first tfisa was 75, and the second one was what? Was 225. So watch, same thing. 75, you're dividing up, each one gets 25. In the second amount, the same thing. Each one's dividing up, you're going to get 75 divided 3 is going to be 25 each. So from the first tfisa, 75, each one got 25. From the second tfisa, each one got 25, which now everyone has a total of 50. So what do you have left? You have 225 minus 75 gives you 150. So now you have 50 from the first tfisa to the second tfisa. You have 150 divided up, left over. So she had 50. Now she gets what? Another 50, and the other 100 goes to hit her. So she had 50. She had 50 plus an additional 50, and she had 50, and she gets from the remaining 250. There was 150 left over. She'll get 50. She'll get 100, and that's the numbers according to Rabbi Yaakov Minahar pocket. That's the way it would work according to him. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara inside. So we had Shmuel's Ukimta of Din Devarim Ainli, that this one doesn't have Din Devarim. In the first Kimta, the second one let the first one go. In the second Kimta, the third one let the second one and the first one go. That's how we explain those numbers. Rav Yaakov in her pocket, says the Gemara, Rav Yaakov in our pocket, Mishmei de Ravino Amar, Reisha b'shtei tfisos, v'seifa b'shtei tfisos. The Reisha is speaking where there are two tfisis, and the Reisha is speaking where there are two tfisis. And the Seifa is speaking two tfisis. Reisha b'shtei tfisos, the Naflu Shivim v'chamisha, first 75, which is divided up three ways, 25, 25, 25, v'chad zimna, u'meya v'esem v'chamisha v'chad zimna. Then you divide it up, 125. So therefore, that was each one got another 25, and you were left over with 50. You divided the 50 between the last two, which gave them 75. Seifa b'shtei tfisos, the naflu shivim v'chamesh b'chat zimna, 75 initially. So therefore, each one got 25. Messiah v'esem v'chamisha, now 225. Each one gets 25 of that. So you have a total of 50 with leftover of 150. The remaining 150. The second one is getting 50, and the third one's getting the 100. That would give you the numbers of 50, 100, and 150. B'chat zimna. Now, Tanya Zu Mishnah Reb Nassan. This that we learned, the division that we just described, this is Reb Nassan's. This is the Mishnah according to Reb Nassan. According to Rabbi, I'm ein anu roya devarav shel Reb Nassan. Be'elu, we don't agree with Reb Nassan. El cholkos b'shava. You divide it up equally. According to Rashi, no matter how much you collect, mana, masayim, and gimel meyos, you're going to divide it up. Each one will get 33 and a third. Each one will get 66 when you have 100, 200, and each one will get 100 when you have 300. That's the way Rashi learns. And why is that? Let's see the bottom line of Rashi. 2 lines from the bottom. The reason over here is there's a shibud. All the chasim are achrayas to pay the ksuba of the woman. Hilkach sholosh hamonim mishubadim lebalas mana kishach abirosa. The three are meshubit tahad the same way all the others. In other words, let's not view it as percentage. Let's just view it as there's 300 manas over here. Each one of that mana is meshubit to each one of these women. So even though her kasuba is only one mana, but she has shaykhs to collecting all of it. And therefore, Rebbe is of the opinion, according to Rashi, you're going to go ahead and make this division. When there's 100, 33 and a third. When there's 200, 66.6. And when there's 300, each one's going to get 100. Rabbeinu Hananel in Tosfos has a big problem with that. How in the world could you go ahead and give someone more than they're entitled to? He has a problem with that. Let's the last place is on the page. Piers Rach, Kaim Lam B'Hal Hilchos L'Karebi, that we pass like Rebbe and Alec of Nassan. How's it possible to say when you have 300, you're going to divide it equally? Balas meya, ubalas messiah meya, ubalas sholish meya is meya. How is it possible to say in this scenario, each one, despite the fact that the ksuba is different in price, that they're all going to get the same amount? And look at the Lashon. The midas hadin like a bizeh. The midas hadin is mamish stuffing these people. This one over here, it's really getting bombed. Ella hamidenu divrei Rabbi shama shacholkas b'shava komana umana noitlis b'shava. So what we're going to do is we're going to prorate over here. We're going to take everything and divide it into 6. So the Baal Mana will be 1/6. The Baal Meya, the Messiah will be 2/6, and the Baal 300 will be 3/6 or a half. So now, according to Rabbi Hananel, on this page here you have it. The Baal Mana who gets 1/6 of 300 is 50. The Baal 200 who gets 2/6 of 300 is 50. And the Balas 300 gets a half of 3/6 or 150. That's the Cholkes B'Shava, according to what? According to Ben Chananel. Fascinating. The last thing of the Mishnah was that you have 3 properties. If you're going to divide it the same way, if they come into an investment together, you're going to divide it up the same way you divide up the Mishnah. Amar Shmuel says, Pshat, Shnayim shehetilu l'kis, people go into an investment, literally to put in a wallet. Zem mana v'zem masayim. This one gives 1 and this one gives 2. In other words, one gives 2/3 more than the other. Okay. Says the Amid days, Haschar le'emsa. The schar will be they'll divide it equally. In other words, even though one invested more than the other, whatever profit they make will be divided equally. That's what Shmuel says. Very, very strange, hard to understand. So Rabba and Rav Hamnuna, we're going to have machloikis, the Amoraim, Rava and Rav Hamnuna, the latter Amoraim, in the early Amoraim Shmuel, as to how you can apply Shmuel's din, that what? They should, even though despite the fact that they invested one more than the other, that you're going to go ahead and say that they share the profits equally. So now, Amar Rabba, Mistabra, it makes sense that Milsa de Shmuel, the words of Shmuel, is Bishar lecharisha, v'oimid lecharisha. When the Shmuel say they divided equally, is when they bought the shar to work, and it worked. Al Bishar lecharisha, when they bought it for the purpose of working, of plowing, v'oimid letficha, and ended up being geschachten, then zed noitel fima oisav, the zed noitel fima oisav, the one who gave more will give according to the amount of money he gave, and the one who gave less will get less. Okay, what's the difference? Why would there be such a difference? So listen, beautiful Rashi. Look at Rashi, the top line. Shor lecharisha, shalachu koyin shor lachreish, shalachu behen. Excuse me. They bought with it a shor for the purpose of what? Of plowing. The charshin boy, and they plowed with it. The ein chelko shel zeh, moyel boy chelko shel zeh. No matter how much I own of an ox, I need a live ox. So therefore, the one who gave more does not have more bilus vis-a-vis the charisha than the one who gave less, because in fact, they both need each other. Therefore, the words of Shmuel would make sense in that case when you're plowing with an ox and you both need the ox to be alive to plow and both own a right in it. There he says what? The profits are divided equally. Masha Enkain, where you went ahead what? And you bought it to go ahead and for charisha. Who then if you bought it for tvicha? If you went ahead and sold it, no, it's lav dafka that you had to go buy it for charisha and then you decide to shech. If you bought the shech, and you decide to shech also, then we don't care that it's being alive. Then we only care about you're buying it for the meat. So obviously, if I gave more money, I get more meat. That's the svara of Rabbah. So Shmuel would agree in the case. Rabbah's explaining Shmuel. When does Rabbah say you divide it equally? That's only when you buy it to work, and it works because again, each one needs the other one because you need a live animal. Masha Enkin, if you're going to buy an animal for the purpose of tvicha, obviously you spend more money, you get more meat. Right? That's according to Rabbah. Rav Hamnuna disagrees, but that's Rabbah. Rav Hamnuna Amar, afilu shalach harisha b'oimel tvicha haskala emsa. You're always going to get emsa. So machlokes between Rabbah and Rav Hamnuna in what Shmuel said. According to Rabbah, only Shmuel said you divide it equally when it's working. When it's meat, you divide it according to the amount you invested. And according to Rav Hamnuna, in any scenario, you're going to go ahead and go according to divide it equally. Meisivei says the Brisa or Tosefta, Shnayim kiss. Two people go ahead, like our Mishnah. They go ahead and go together in an iska, an investment. This one gives 100, this one gives 200. Haschala em, so they divide it equally. My love, b'shor l'charisha v'oim l'tficha. It's kashan Rabba. You see, you divide it equally, even when what you're going to end up shechting it. The tiyuf to the Rabba, and we'll see why in a second. There's a havamina that it's speaking where you bought it for to work and you end up shechting. B'shor l'charisha v'oim l'charisha. No, and no. It's speaking where it was for the work, and you went to work, and as we said, they need each other. They can't. You need a live animal. Now, the Gemara says the following. Yeah, obviously would say, according to Rabba, good. So that's the problem. What's the problem? We'll never introduce another case when you can hear the same chiddush in the Reisha, right? We'll always, in other words, the Lashon Ketzar, the Gemara of a Brisa, Tosefta, will always be, the only reason you introduce a new case is because you couldn't have heard that chiddush in the first case. Why do we say over here? At the Tani Seifa, in the case of the Seifa, at the Tani Seifa, at the Tani Seifa, you learn the Seifa. You have two people. They put both. They're taking their oxen to work. One's a strong ox, one's a weak ox. So obviously, the stronger ox is doing more of the work. So why do we say at the Tani Seifa? What does it say in the Seifa? Lokach zeh b'shaloi, v'zeh b'shaloi, v'nizarvu. They get mixed together. Zeh noit l'fim oisav, because it's a stronger ox. Zeh noit l'fim oisav. So l'chayri, you see that what? When do you have a case of zeh noit? You go according to an investment. Is only when they get mixed together. Mashma in the case that they you bought it lecharisha, that no matter what, you're not going to go lefima oisav, because only in this case do you go lefima oisav. But in any other case, including the case of if you went ahead and was oimid lecharisha and you ended up shechting it, then I would say what you go according to divide it equally. That's why the Havamina of Gemara was the Kasha and Rabbah, because of the Seifa. The Seifa was machriya, pushed us to go ahead and assume that this is the only scenario where you go according to your investment. Mashenk, in any other scenario, you can divide it equally, including when what? You bought it for Charisha and you ended up shechting it. So that was the Kasha. So that was the Kasha on Rabbah. That's going to know. So lifting will listen to B'dida. You should have gone ahead and told me the chilik and the Reisha. That you go according to the that equally is b'shol lecharisha v'ayim lecharisha. Aval b'shol lecharisha v'ayim lechavicha zen le'tufim v'aysav zen le'tufim. So l'chayra, it's a kasha on Rabbah. Why did you have to introduce the second case to teach me the chiddush if you could have told me in the first case? Ella must be in the first case. There is no such chiddush, because no matter what, whether you bought it for Amida and it stayed the charisha and it stayed the charisha, or you bought it charisha and ended up shechting it, it will be divided equally. That's the Gemara's kasha. And for the Gemara, no, the Seif is explaining the ratio. When do we say that what? That you divided equally? That's b'shor lecharisha, void lecharisha. That's a shor that's there for plowing and a standard for plowing. A shor that's there for the purpose of plowing, and you're going to end up shechting it. Nasa will view it like the Seifa. Nasa will view it. Kami shalakech zeb b'shaloi zeb b'shaloi. That you bought a ox, a stronger ox, a weaker ox. They work together. And the Sarvu said, in other words, it's not a second case. This latter case is explaining the ratio. When do we say the ratio you divided equally is only on charisha for charisha? But when you divide a charisha and you end up shechting, that's the same thing as two oxen getting mixed together, one healthier, one less healthier, that you can only moisa. Okay, so that's so Rabbi held serve. Okay, a final question from my Mishnah. Tanan b'chein shlosh tilu lekis. So you see what? My love pichso mamish, that the investment went down in price. So siru mamish, it went up in price, and you see it go l'fi mo'isav. Not like Shmuel who said you go according, you divide it equally. Doesn't mean that the investment went up. I mean the coins that were there got worth more or less. Like siru is zuchat, that the coins got worth more, and pisku is astira tzinura, that got worth less. That the mapeya wasn't worth anything. The only thing you could use it for was to put on a callus on your foot. So therefore, it's not Shver and Shmuel, right? You still go according to what? According to your equal amount, you divide it equally. When the Mishnah said that going up and going down, it wasn't referring to the actual investment, it was referring to the coins that the persons gave.